Astonishing. Truly, truly. Thank you so much, Gerard. That was really such a gift to get to see. And I'm so honored and delighted now to turn it over to the wonderful poet, translator, and my dear friend, Vincent Katz, to guide us through the rest of the evening.
Wow, I'm still just kind of transported by what we saw and heard. And by the way, I've become a big fan of Angus MacLeese's work, thanks to Gerard, who has compiled it and really edited it in the CD set, and it's on Spotify. Among other things, that footage of Charles Olson is so special. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you to Laura Henriksen, who really supported this project this evening. Thank you to Kyle DeCuan, the director of the Poetry Project. And a special thanks to Martina Salisbury, who's been mentioned, who really provided a lot of help in getting this evening together. So I'm going to introduce Gerard, who's going to then come up and do a reading, and then after that we'll have a conversation which will hopefully quickly evolve into a Q&A that you can all be involved with and contribute to. I came under the spell of Gerard Malanga's poetry in the mid-1970s, when I was around 15 or 16. The 70s were interesting. The 60s seemed far away, though in retrospect, we can see how close they were. A lot of people then, and now, denigrated the idealism of the 60s, said it had failed, and we were back in the same shit as before. I never believed that, and I still don't. The 60s to me were the beginning of a slow, painfully long-awaited liberation that is far from achieved, but is still in process. Gerard's was a voice I instantly trusted, one of a chorus of voices of poets born around the same time, whose work I was encountering in small press publications and also in readings at the Project and elsewhere. I loved Gerard's simple yet sophisticated language from the beginning and the way he played with line breaks. Quote, "Long hair let loose shows an obsession with the windbreaker's dream of what light's thrown on the ground." From Waiting to Hear From You. I became aware of his photography too, as he often included photographs in his books of poems. One book in particular spoke to an ethos of expandability in a person's trajectory. Gerard's 1975 collection, Incarnations, published as many of his were by Black Sparrow Press, is divided into 11 sections, each dedicated to a named person, presumably a lover, with the dates of the relationship included, and prefaced by a photographic portrait of that person by Gerard. There was a definite glamour to Gerard and his poetry, one shared by a coterie of his contemporaries. In Gerard's case, while rooted in New York City, where he was born and worked, it had, in addition, a strong European tendency, which also appealed to me. His poems to Benedetta Barzini, in particular, possess a lasting romantic power. Of Gerard's many love poems, and he is one of the great love poets of our time, the ones to and for Benedetta remain for me a central contribution. Partially, this has to do with the intersection of fashion and poetry, a recurring theme in Gerard's work. Also, and this is key, that contemporary sensibility is firmly rooted in a devotion to classical culture. Quote, "Even as I think of you, you are arranging the old and new flowers together. All of this begins somewhere else. Beatrice observed by Dante walking across the Ponte Vecchio. What was he thinking? What are you? In the street by yourself, in the car going home?" From the young girl moving through sunlight. Gerard had multiple lives. He was Andy Warhol's right-hand man, helping him make the historic silkscreen paintings and playing a central role in the factory-based activities of the Velvet Underground, about whom Gerard has written a book with Victor Bacchus, Uptight, The Velvet Underground Story. Gerard was an intimate collaborator on Warhol's films, which are arguably some of Warhol's most important work. Gerard's own photography blossomed after an initiation experience interviewing Charles Olson in Gloucester, Massachusetts in 1969 for the Paris Review. Gerard's portraits are some of the most affecting of their time. They share something with the photographs Rudy Burkhart took of artists, in that, in both cases, the photographer was someone who approached his subjects as one of them, an artist in his own right, not an outside documenter. We can only marvel at the cumulative significance and range of the people Gerard photographed. His encounters with Brian Geisen, Patti Smith, Robert Creeley, William Burroughs, John Ashbery, Candy Darling, Moondog, Anne Waldman, Edwin Denby, Andre Codrescu, Ron Padgett, Allen Ginsberg, and many others capture specific bursts of energy between two people, sometimes lit up, sometimes burning low, always with a human connection and grace. Gerard's recent poems, collected in Cool and Other Poems, 2019, and the new Melancholia and Other Poems, 2021, both published by Bottle of Smoke Press, are wistful reflections of friends and family, many now departed. They are elegiac and romantic, but they are also present tense conversations with artists and others who have counted. It's the fabric and tissue of the past that Gerard magically recreates, as in these lines from his poem for Peter Orlovsky. We'd joke a lot. We got beyond the poetry and circled round. And then, when would we ever find the time to write? We were too busy laughing, too busy living. Parting ways also became a pastime to a history we were so much a part of we didn't pay much attention to, like a pot of mint tea or stirring a chicken broth. It was like we were inside each other's writing for a while. We have a rare opportunity tonight to go inside Gerard Malanga's poetry for a while. Please welcome Gerard Malanga and help me wish him a happy birthday.
Be heard? Where's my mic? I thought I was connected with my lavalier. Where's my lavalier mic? I should have.
Here it is.
Where's the lavalier mic?
Right here.
Oh, okay. I don't feel it on
We
though.
don't need this? Do we need this?
No, I didn't want that. I wanted my lavalier on.
Okay, let's move it.
What happened to lavalier?
Sound man.
Where's the sound man here all of a sudden?
We need a sound check?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Help?
Yeah, check it, yeah.
The whole idea was not to have a microphone. Hello. Why isn't it coming through my lavalier?
It is, it just doesn't really pick up too loud, unfortunately.
Oh, boy. All right. The whole idea is I don't want to be tied down to a microphone here. Okay, anyway, am I being held heard clearly now? Okay. I tried doing my Cecil Taylor walk, but I'm not as good at it as he is. Anyway, I'm going to read for about a half an hour, mostly recent poems. And better, better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. I'm going to be mostly new poems. Also, I'm working under a handicap because my right ear is kind of puffy. So I'll have to get by that. This is my sparkling water. Okay. Got to put my glasses on. Okay. Welcome. I'm really thrilled that everybody is here. So many people came out tonight. And, to connect with what I'm about to read with.
I'm sorry, Gerard. I'm going to bring this mic up because I feel like this one's just not picking you up loudly enough. So I can make sure everybody can hear you.
Okay, how's that?
How's that sound?
How's that?
Thanks, so.
Okay,
Is it comfortable?
yeah, it's fine. Testing, testing. Is that good? Okay. All right. A few of these poems I'm going to read tonight are sad poems, actually. I don't think of myself as a sad poet, but sometimes the muse has other ideas. I've always felt that this should be a book. I've never really seen a book where it's about the woman or the man who's behind the poet, like a married person. I guess it's a sub-genre, but I always thought it would be interesting to know who the inspirations were on that level, you see. This first poem I'm going to read is, it's called Valerie Elliott. It's 3:15, you're late, ushering me into the dark hallway of the flat. I can't remember where, it's years now. We sat, her mom beside her as we rocked on Sherry Strait and told me tales and showed me Ansco-colored snaps of Tom vacationing Bermuda, sallow like the sand surrounding him and smiling awkwardly. Who knows what that smile revealed? Not looking back beyond decline years from when they first met. A long line of hopefuls in the chill. The interview at Faber for that job would take her far and far beyond those years, and all for that one faked broken arm. The plaster cast won him over nonetheless, revealing no less a truth professed when she became keeper of the flame. Tom's books in the next room, consumed by the same embers, listened in. A chilly air, a drafty street. It's getting late. Thank you. I've always believed that poetry is a kind of healing process for the recipient as well as for the poet, his or herself. And I wrote this poem 3 days before Bernadette Mayer died, before she passed away. So it was a healing process in my mental capacity to write about her and my friendship with her, and to perhaps even heal myself from a past encounter. So this is called Bernadette Mayer, poet, wordster. That's W-O-R-D-S-T-E-R. I thought you'd get a big kick out of that. Bernadette, how far back were you a babe for me with a nickname like Pigeon? It's summertime. I can almost date us now by the clothes we wore or shorn off. Your trademark tightly fit jeans, your hair let loose in a glowing scent, those black and white snapshots you showed me, of your uncle's hands. What was his name? Of stories yet to be told, retold, which you simply can't recall now, even misplaced, like so much else, like so much ever else. Weekends when you cooked us a chili concoction, so sweet by the stove, and whatever else you shared of your personal treasures like a kid, your ongoing Instamatic series, experimenting time and place you found so fascinating, revealing, until the fascinations wore off. And what revealed was the naked truth of yourself, your ultra, the way it was, or might have been out of focus, or of a blue moon on the Upper East Side. Where was it now? I forget. The balmy fire escape, no less, and below the city's traffic already subsides. Such details elude me. Forgive me in the face of what those scented mornings must have been, surrounded by silences, tissue thin. Those private moments that stayed with us far too long. We become each other's myth, untrampled, unspoiled, until those smiles of a summer's night by the windowsills remain so. What's left? Yes, we were kids. The memory light obscured, but still brilliant. Bill Bergson, I should say, was the first poet of my, I want to say, generation, although he was a bit older than me. The first poet that I met back in 1960 at a party that Kenwood Elmsley gave, in which Bill snubbed me. But that's okay. We became friends later on in life. I take pride in knowing who his haberdashery was in London. Not any other poet knew that, actually. Anyway, this is a memorial for Bill. It's called William Craig Bergson, Poet, 1939, 2016. I'm sure you would have given me the bear hug after all these years, these decades even. I'm so sure you would have placed a warm hand on my arm, my shoulder, looking back through all those early years, through all we'd seen together. We were the only ones around, a mere 4 years apart, but closing in. You were my first discovery. We'd circle round each other. We kept eyes on each other in those early years. I was a clothes horse, Donaldson, Williams, and Ward in all your splendor, your private London haberdashery. Capote's black and white affair. You lucky dog, you. These are the times of history, deleting histories, those chapters evaporating through distance, time, those rainy fashion afternoons up Madison. You would have told me a thing or two that I may have missed. We got drenched. Remember when? I remember when. Entangled in the loss of memory. When is where we will always be in each other's memory, each other's words, the books we shared, each other's eyeing of the girls. We still had time for that. You laugh. You were my first discovery. You were the boy wonder. You know, when I address these poems to the person directly because I feel that I'm channeling their spirit. So if I say hi, dear, darling, whatever, it's basically, it's not a letter, it's a message poem in a way. And it helps me to connect with the person that I'm writing about. Cecil Taylor, jazz composer, 1929, 2018. Hey, Cecil! Whence the unconscious? I doubt even you expected those unruly hours to go frozen suddenly with the shades drawn, or to shout to high heavens, what happened? Life just stopped. What'd you expect? What was it you want to say to me? Why me? I hold no magic secrets, no oily elixir that would do its magic, its elusive magic across those striding keys. You remain stubborn, uncompromising, unflattering. Well, that's not exactly true. Easily coaxed. You could be walking down the street in a drizzle when a rhythm gets you and you keep it going in your head. You've got rhythm until you find a darkened doorway where to jot it down. Da-doom, da-doom, da-doom. Where from there would you go? Is there life after life? Don't let it slip. And then you slip into some unexpected rabbit hole, a plunge into existence, and suddenly a rabbit greets you. Brer Rabbit is my name. That's so? Death is like that, just a talking rabbit. One syllable and then you're past that. Then you're unreachable, a million miles from nowhere. Then you're back, walking in the rain. Now, this is going to be a toughie. This is named for my current companion who's back home right now being cat-sitted. This is called Odin, a.k.a. Odie, black domestic short hair, and then some. Okay, Odie, when do I get to see you as you really are? You're so elusive. You're so out of the ordinary. To be truly extraordinary is more like it. We've been together, it's been 5 months now, I reckon, though it seems more timeless in reverse, having lost count of the years, and your tail to boot from some lost infection, your tender years, as Tad claims you're 20, gulp, as I claim another year upon us. By the grace of God, I don't claim you. Rather, I serve you your breakfast, your evening meal too. Some mornings you're climbing in my hair, and then a week later my favorite cartoonist depicts you in the New Yorker. Exactly so. How synchronous is that? Yesterday was a kind of shitty, drizzly day. Not much to gaze at through your favorite window, except you always find me from some other part of the house and curl up in the crook of my armpit with your God's head resting on my breast. And suddenly you've gone to sleep. You've earned that every God-willing moment. It's the camaraderie we continue to share. I don't think the years ahead. I'm just blessed by your daily presence, blessed by your morning. I have a slight story. I have a slight sidebar story to tell you about this poem. Is that for a while, he doesn't do it anymore, but after breakfast every morning, for I want to say 3-4 months, I can't remember how long now, he would go between the couch and the flat file and belt out 7 bars of music. I'm not kidding. I mean, it was just like, huh? And I would never see him doing it, actually. It was a funny thing, because I'd be at a weird angle, and it was just this bars of music pouring through the living room. And once I did catch him while he was in the midst of doing it, and he really was, it was coming right out of his diaphragm. Just the bars of music was just unbelievable. Eventually, he had a slight stressful. It wasn't an exact. It wasn't an. It wasn't an accident, but he stressed out for a little while, and for the afternoon he was in a very lethargic state. And when I brought him his food for the evening, he perked up and ate it and cleaned the bowl, and he never sang again. He's just an amazing cat. A sweet cat, but also very, very smart. This is called Robert Bly, poet, 1926-2021. By the way, my cardiologist would be very impressed with me doing those bars of music right now. Dear Robert, I don't suppose you can hear me in this blizzard of a dream, dating 60 years back, and there you were in an acrylic suit and tie at Oscar Williams' soiree with Jim Wright at your side. And then I wake, and the bedside clock lights up 5:53. A bit too early for me to get up and go tinkle, but I do. Even feed Zazi's hungry eyes, fill her water bowl, chores to fill, and then I look out the window. It's still the dead of night, and it hadn't even snowed. Will I find those premonitions in any one of Jung's creative myths? The Times has you listed as having died at 94. Robert Bly est mort. But there are those nitwitted, even now, asking online, didn't you die so long ago? Better the silence that surrounds. Better those moments trapped in a photograph, a montage, trapped in a Minnesota snowdrift of the kind that makes you want to fall asleep with a book to pass the time, with a howling, still howling outside. Better today than yesterday, as if tomorrow will never come, but there's no end to yesterday, as the darkness now belongs to you, one day, one night at a time. Allen Ginsberg, 1926, 1997. Where's Alan now with his wet kisses? Ooh, oi, oi, oi. Where's the shamanistic smile walking up East 14th when once he caught me on the stoop waiting for the mailman? Did he really know as much about us way back then as I do now, looking back at where you is, upon a waning star of your demise, of no goodbyes, the family recipe for chicken soup shared with me, a cure-all for the common cold, the drips and drabs and snotty phlegm. It works and continues working. The headshot you requested for an ID photo back in 79, or was it 80? Your face naked of all that fuzz, naked of your past, now nor anticipating so many far-flung futures. Your goofy look, I want to say, your Three Stooges, times they are a-changin'. The shared friends, Barbara Rubin, Moretta Greer, Ann Buchanan, a city you nor I would recognize, nor would we want to, the way you embrace my thoughts on rainy days. Ghostly glooms across the pigeon rooftops of someone's adolescence. Where are you now in those darkened swarms? The present past at the instant of a click as the film advances, one frame, then another and another, always in a tunnel dark, exposed but not exposed. So many lifetimes frozen, so many stories once so real. What is real? What is half remembered? Or is it we move on? Who's pacing whom? Who are the beneficiaries? Years ago, I had the honor of being hired by Henry J. Stern, the New York City Parks Commissioner. and he hired me as the agency's first photo archivist, a job that I embraced fully and excitedly. And it was a lot of fun to work for Henry. He was just a terrific mentor in a way for me. And I did my job, and he loved what I was doing. And 3.5 years, I curated 14 exhibits and conserved and cataloged a negative collection of over 30,000 negatives. And it was quite a fun experience. And I want to honor Henry tonight. He's passed away recently, but anyway. Henry, it's been so many years now. Surely you've forgotten while we were waiting at the foot of the arsenal. You said, quote, "You know how I got to be where I am?" No, because I was poor, smart, and Jewish. You still make me laugh. And then the car pulls up, and off we went, visiting some Parks Department properties where you rode the Coney Island baby surf, and then reclined on the boardwalk railing in your Bermudas, almost in a reverie, watching the clear calm, God's fickle light, the sights, the distant voices down on the sand, and further out to the ocean, a child's blue sky, the bare and languid air. Henry, what's it like to be alone? You didn't hear me? Oh, well. And afterwards we had a late lunch, borscht and blackened pumpernickel at the Ocean View in Brighton Beach, where the L train in the sky screeches to a halt on the banking curve to let the air brakes out. I've read in books that our histories are still very much within us. Your locale near the Grand Concourse, a wunderkind at Bronx Science, chateau-like, behind Lowe's Paradise and the bowling alley. Mine, the Fordham section sloping down to Webster Ave, even in those blinding rosebud winters. What lives in me are the denouements and photos lost, invoked in passing flashes. All that we know, all that we soon will know, the infini in every dream. Tomorrow, maybe, maybe. Uh-oh. Sylvia, poet. I've known only one Sylvia who was a poet. Her name was Sylvia Spencer, but she lived in Connecticut. Sylvia, I'm reminded of your breath. That was the wrong word. Better laugh than cry. Sylvia, I'm reminded of your birth, dear, by Linda Paston's obit, a fellow Bronxite. How you lost out to her in the Mademoiselle summer interns competition in the mid-1950s. I'd have to research the exact date, but I don't want to lose my stream of consciousness, which amounts to where I'm being taken. Turns out you were my elder by 11 years, and there's no chance our paths would ever cross. You were of an age of bobby socks that would take much to flirt with you. Everything so prim and proper, but not in any poem of yours I would recall. I'm not your prim and proper. I'm a wise guy. I like to dance. I remained in the Bronx, then roamed NYC's art scene, while you moved to Cambridge. Already the stirrings of your histories unfolding unbeknownst to me. Funny how we missed each other. Funny how we missed out with one another. By the time I reached London, you'd already turned on the gas. How ignoble in an act of quiet desperation. Your next-door neighbor was away that weekend. Your timing was way, way off. Had we gone on after an unhurried coffee date at Mayfair, history would have unfolded quite differently. Well, the bell jar would not exist, for instance, and your life would take a different turn. You'd be just Sylvia Plath, a name unrecognizable, for the scandals, the speculations that ensued. At the very least, at least you'd be alive. Your triumphs, your desperations, as quiet as they'd always been, a life of poesy, conjured, as it were, in your everlasting sleep. Okay, here's the heavy one. It's titled Odie is being called back, but it has an ellipsis. It's not yet, not just yet. Anyway, being called back is a phrase that I came across in an essay collection by Truman Capote, and I think he's been denigrated slightly with bad reputation, but he had to be a very I never met him, but if an author is going to make me laugh while reading his work, then I'm all for it. And he was a terrific writer, and he talked about the idea of being called back was a phrase for if you say, oh, someone died or someone passed away, and being called back is something that I probably came out of the religious atmosphere of the South. I still have to research that and see where it came from, but it's a beautiful beautiful combination of words, actually, to be called back, you know, and that's what eventually all of us will do. And I have nicknamed for my cat sometimes, and Odie's nickname was Honey Bunny. Odie is being called back. Hi, Honey Bunny. How will I remember you in the colder, darker seasons when the rooms are hush and empty? The love we've shared, always your bed from the beginnings. In the end, there is no end, Cal said to me over lunch somewheres in Mayfair. But now I'm half a century from then to you. No more reminding me, no more your presence in the next room of an ongoing dream while I practice sentience. How can I struggle under covers, patch quilts to hug your warmth, close your eyes and rest a while? Go ahead, nudge me rather than snuggle. Nudge me. How can I sing to you in those whispers? Can you still not hear me? I wonder. How will we reach those vast swaths of sunrise? How will we reach yet another new year, holding off the inevitable? Will I continue to rinse out your feeding dish, refill your water bowl, change your kitty litter? I've no idea when you'll be called back. Neither do you. Time cancels time in the interim. If I could, can I go with you? Can I warm your paws for the journey, kiss you on the forehead, not once, but forever? Is there still time to wipe away those endless tears that cloud my vision in the darker regions when nighttime arrives through the closed curtains? I am practicing those empty rooms, those gestures and motions, while you still keep in one the warmth, warm and safe. While I ask where to find you, where, oh where, will you turn your head around, just looking at each other, glancing up with crossed eyes? That's your perfect vision from birth, and we are blessed anew once more. Good night, Odie. I practiced reading that poem for a whole week so I could avoid crying. Okay, so this is called April 11th, 2019. I'm going to reveal to the audience that the NB dedication in my last two books is Nicola Brandt. So there. Anyway, she's a very, very gifted photographer of German descent, born and raised in Namibia. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but we'll see. Anyway, we had a delightful lunch, Nicola and I, at the Smith. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's across from Lincoln Center. It was just a wonderful, we had such a good time. And of course, the waitress said something, oh, and we have a photo booth in the basement. Well, that did it. I mean, it was sort of like we were two kids in a candy store. We were down there for about an hour snapping pictures and just having a hilarious time. And and I should really preface this by saying that I've always heard the word melancholy, but I never really knew what it meant. And that's the title of my new book, The New Melancholia. In any case, I didn't know what the experience was to be melancholic in a way, but I certainly did find out when I walked to Central Park, across from the Tavern on a Green in that big parking lot, and then we parted, and I watched her until she disappeared over the knoll of the grass. I never saw her again after this date. Although she does visit my Instagram. Yeah. And communicates. What a powerful healing. April 11th would have been the first anniversary if there was one. Well, I wrote this poem in April of 2020, you see. The words seem forever out of reach, like who cares? Nothing happened. The early afternoon was more illuminating, the sky a bright grayless gray. Once you cleared the hill in Central Park, all was gone. Nothing to describe, or the absurdity of life, or NYC from an unexpected late snow that doesn't seem to want to stick. I had to look closer to remember the trees had not yet leafed, but the curbs were swept. At that moment, I awoke to a blinding sunlight along a coast that stretched in both directions all at once for hundreds of miles of deserted, uncluttered beach. And then off in the distance, I saw a silhouette of a figure moving slowly in my direction. And at first, I couldn't make out who it was. To say something that I didn't say before is that the words "how's it" is a way of greeting. It's a way of saying hello to somebody in Namibia and in South Africa. At that moment, I awoke to a blinding sunlight along a coast that stretched in both directions all at once for hundreds of miles of deserted, uncluttered beach. And then off in the distance, I saw a silhouette of a figure moving slowly in my direction. And at first, I couldn't make out who it was. And then I saw. I could not believe my eyes. I cried out to you above the din, "How's it? How's it?" There was no response. You kept on walking, almost struggling in the dune. And then you finally came close enough and stopped. "Is that you?" I couldn't make out what you were saying. The wind was deafening, stifling, and yet everything around me felt comfortable, peaceful. Even the waves had lost their sound. You turned your face sideways to the backlit glare, falling on your face, the bridge of your nose. You clenched your fist as if biting into it and holding back the tears. It was an old photograph, a snapshot, really. We stood quietly for a few moments, as meaningless as a passing dream. You took the pose and stepped into it. I heard you stirring. I heard the waves waking in the distance, a lulling sound, and then nothing. Nothing. There was nothing. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Now we got the third degree here. Okay, all right. Oh, thank you. wait for this.
I don't know if this is on. Looks like Angus is here.
Yeah, really. We have multiple soundtracks.
Wow. Oh, that was so great. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to read.
No, I mean,
Some of these poems were a little difficult. Some of these poems were a little difficult, I have to say.
yeah. And I've been reading them, but to hear you read them added a lot of depth to
Oh,
just
good.
the emotion, yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I love reading my work out loud. I think that's part of my, I love the printed page, but I love the printed page, but then also when I give a performance, I could hear myself when I'm not deaf in one ear. I can hear myself better through my own work, so.
Well, I wanted to ask you something. So a lot of what we've been seeing and your reading that you did has to do with others, with relationships, with friendships, and your photographs too, which we saw at the beginning, and the film a little in a different way. But definitely the photographs and a lot of your poems, not just these recent ones, but throughout
Yeah.
your career. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that aspect of your poetry, that is to say, you touched on this a little bit earlier, like what are you going for in the sense is, like, is it for you or is it for that person, and where is the relationship with the person between the poem?
Well, I never know when I'm going to have a date with the muse. I usually have my New York Times, I go to a cafe, and sometimes I get inspired by a line I see in the newspaper and I'll start writing. Well, a lot of my working drafts, my first drafts are on the newspaper, actually. And when I was growing up in the Bronx, I came from a household that had maybe one book in the house. You know, there was no education. I knew nothing about poetry. I just, my what do you call it? My psychological makeup early on showed no signs that I was going to become a poet in my lifetime. Okay, until my senior year in high school, I had a wonderful, wonderful teacher named Daisy Oldham, and she, in 1 week, I knew I was not going to study advertising design at SIA. I was going to be a poet, and that's what I devoted and dedicated my life to.